There are certain moments, certain days, where I'm struck by the tenderness of God, by the love of God. For me, for the lost, for the broken, for the forgotten. This morning I just was really overwhelmed with the tenderness of a God who pursues us and sees us. I didn't stop to collect myself. Instead, I just turned on this video and wanted to record and share this moment with you. I was reading Genesis 16. And it's such a strange story. So many heroes of the Old Testament, so many heroes of the faith do things and say things and act in ways that are just not Christ-like. And Abram and Sarai, who become eventually Abraham and Sarah, they're in that boat. I mean, God calls Abram, makes a covenant with him in chapter 15 that he will give him a child, and that child will be as numerous, will be birth a nation as numerous as the stars of the heaven. That the covenant that God is making with his people will flow through Abram's child. The problem was Abram and his wife were advanced in age, and they genuinely could not believe that this was true. But they waited. And it didn't happen the way they thought it would. It didn't happen when they thought it would. And basically, Sarai becomes impatient. Chapter 16, verse 1. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children. The promise was there, just the execution wasn't occurring. But she did have an Egyptian slave named Hagar. I found that phrase, Egyptian slave, very interesting. Because at the end of Genesis, we will end the nation of Israel before the Exodus, where they are slaves in Egypt. But here at the beginning, we have the Egyptian that is a slave for the people of the covenant. And her name is Hagar. Verse 2, so Sarai said to Abram, the Lord has kept me from having children. He gave us a promise. He just won't let me deliver on it. So here's my solution. Go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her. I don't know about you, but sometimes even in my own impatience, when I'm dealing with promises of the Lord in my own life, leads to solutions that just create a massive problem that me and other people around me suffer from for years to come. If we're just patient, sometimes patience is just choosing to trust more than choosing to act. In her impatience, she chooses to act. And her solution is commit adultery. Sleep with my slave, Egyptian slave girl Hagar. And Abram is just as guilty. It says, Abram agreed. That is startling to me. That somebody who later's faith will be credited to him as righteousness. Read the book of Romans. He agrees to something as abhorrent, as evil, as forcing God's plan by sleeping with someone that is not his wife. Abram agreed to what Sarai said. So after Abram had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar, and she conceived. Then the problem gets worse. Anytime we disobey God, it's incredible how then what that bears is fruit that just makes everything worse. What ends up happening is that she was pregnant, and she begins to despise her mistress. Hagar begins to despise Sarai. Then Sarai said to Abram, you are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my slave in your arms, and now that she knows she is pregnant, she despises me. So may the Lord judge between you and me. What have you done to me, Abram? Abram then tries to pass the blame and pass the issue back to his wife. Verse 6, your slave is in your hands. Do with her whatever you think best. So what did Sarai do? She did what was normal to people's own hearts. When you are mistreated, you mistreat the very person that mistreats you. So then Sarai starts to mistreat Hagar. And so Hagar is like, I'm out of here. And she flees. And then the angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring of the desert. Verse 7. It was the spring that is beside the road of Shur. And he said, Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? Let's just get it all out in the open. What's led to this moment? She says, I'm running away from my mistress Sarai. Then the angel of the Lord told her something that is incredibly difficult to do. Go back to your mistress and submit to her. That's brutal. And here's the reason why. Hagar was mistreated. Hagar was mistreated, was used, was abused. And sure, she might have had a lip towards Sarai. She didn't treat Sarai anywhere close to how she is being treated by her master. Hagar was mistreated. And now the angel is saying, go back and submit to the one that's mistreated you. And then the angel added, verse 10, I will increase your descendants so much that they too will be numerous to count. The angel of the Lord also said to her, notice how extensive the angel of the Lord talks to Hagar. You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son, and you shall name him Ishmael, which the name Ishmael means God hears. For the Lord has heard of your misery. He knows how you've been treated. He has heard it, and he is responding. He will be a wild donkey of a man. He's going to be wild. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility towards all his brothers. The misery will continue, and yet I am here to speak to you now, and the blessing that will flow through him will be as numerous as the stars can count. And then listen to how she responds. Hagar says, Hagar gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees me. You are the God who sees me. For she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. This is incredible to me. Because we could pretend that the only people in the narrative that matter are Abram and Sarai, but not to the Lord. Instead, the Lord sees how Hagar, the Egyptian slave, is being mistreated by the very people who should be living out the covenant of the king that is going to be blessing the nations through their seed. It is their disobedience that has further hurt Hagar. And yet, the Lord says, the heroes of the story will not be the only people that I care about. For Hagar, I see you too. And I will not sit idly by. I hear you, I see you, and I am going to pursue you even as you flee into the desert. Here's my challenge for you this week. Work hard to see the one who sees you. In your pain, in your joy, in your disobedience, in the mistreatment done by you and to you. This week, stop, pause, and look in order to see the God who sees you. I love you. Have a good week.